Gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government. Do you still think that jet fuel brought down the World Trade Center? Does anybody else see a problem here?
And the fear is intensifying. American Airlines disallows a boarding 16-year-old with Down syndrome because people thought that he looked scary. That's at Infowars.com. Again, yet another DHS worker files discrimination lawsuit against Big Sis. Audit of New York Federal Reserve technocrat creation and cover-up of global financial crash. Big news there. At prisonplanet.com. Establishment launches straw man over government bullet purchases, focuses on 174,000 bullets that we mentioned instead of the 1.4 billion. Amazing. We've had AP, Washington Post all attack us. Just that really got them upset that we've realized they're buying armored vehicles and all this stuff against the American people. So we're going to be breaking all of that down as well. Now, joining us to really give us his perspective on what's happening is Dr. Richard Stallman, is a software developer and software freedom activist. He developed GNU, that's the basis of so many of the systems out there today. He graduated from Harvard in '74 with a BA in physics and has received many awards, doctorates, and professorships from his extensive work. In January '84, he resigned from MIT to start the GNU, or GNU operating system meant to be entirely free software. And he has been the project's leader ever since. And I'm not going to read his whole bio. Most people know who he is if they have any type of brain. But Stallman.org is one of the websites, and he fights against the overuse of copyright as a tyranny. To use my own word, he can correct me if I'm wrong. But the reason I wanted to get him on today is I remember Dr. Stallman, when I was just getting on the internet 15, 16 years ago, warning that they're building back doors and things. It also screws up how the software works. That's why you want the open software. And he's like, they're tracking you. They're listening to you. And then now it's just Google's cars, admittedly, driving around with NSA contracts, hacking your computer, stealing your passcodes. Totally illegal. They don't get in trouble. The FBI has been caught over and over again. It's in the Telecommunications Act. They've got all the access codes to the iPhones, the droids, and now they're denying it even though they've been caught. You've just got a total 1984 society with the smart meters now interfacing with hardwired tech in the dishwashers, the clothes washers, the clock radios. They're making you pay for the tech as part of your purchase. Again, first guy I heard talk about that was Dr. Stallman. And he got criticized for that. And so, I mean, how far does it go when the CIA director, since the last time Dr. Stallman was on, probably 6 months ago, has now come out at a public conference at InQtel, at a CIA funding conference, and says, yeah, we're using everything to listen to you. It's all got back doors. Ha, ha, ha. So we've gone from denying it just 5, 6 years ago with Bush to now it's just in your face. I wanted to get his take on that and then all this talk of hacking the brain, the rest of it. We asked him what he thought of that. Dr. Stallman, great to have you on with us, sir.
Hi, thanks. I should point out, though, that I never talk about making software, quote, open, unquote, because that's the term used by the people.
I know. You're the expert. I'm using the wrong semantic. Sure. Okay, well, give us the right semantics.
Software. I talk about free software.
Free.
Freedom-respecting software. With software, either the users control the program or the program controls the users. With free software, the users control the program, And that way we've got a chance of making sure it does what we want it to do and not the other things we don't want it to do. With proprietary software, it's the program that controls the users. And the users typically can't change it and they can't figure out what it's doing. And backdoors and other malicious features are known in many widely used proprietary programs. For instance, there's Microsoft Windows. It has known surveillance features that people have detected over the years. They're not easy to see, but people have encountered them. And it has features specifically to restrict what users can do. These are known as digital handcuffs, or DRM. And it has backdoors. Now, there's one backdoor in Windows that was explicitly made for the police, although I usually prefer to call them the thugs. And it's designed to let them write a program on a pen drive, and when they stick that pen drive into the machine, it takes control. And they can then do anything to it. But there's another backdoor known in Windows that allows remote installation of software changes. Now, that's a universal backdoor. It means that Microsoft, using that backdoor, can do absolutely anything to a machine running Windows. Any malicious feature that is not present in Windows today could be remotely installed. It might be there tomorrow or next week. So basically, Windows has zero security. People know that Windows has weak security, but they're actually looking at only half the situation when they say that. They're thinking about security against unknown third parties. But what about the security against Microsoft or anyone that has Microsoft's cooperation? Well, in that case, given that Microsoft can remotely install software changes, the extent of Windows security against Microsoft or Microsoft's friends is zero, literally zero. Now, if we look at the iThings, we see that they have malicious features too. Two different spy features were found, and then they were removed, but there could be more. And the digital handcuffs of the iThings are the nastiest ever because Apple pioneered the practice of censoring applications, of restricting what users can install into their computers. And there's also a backdoor that allows remote deletion of applications that are installed. And then if we look at Android, well, a large part of Android is in a theoretical sense somehow free software, but in practice it's not. And Android Market is proprietary software which censors applications and has backdoors. So you've got non-free software with malicious features almost anywhere you look. Flash Player is another example. It has a known surveillance feature which helps websites do surveillance on their visitors. And it has digital handcuffs. So this demonstrates, by the way, that it doesn't really make any difference if the program is gratis. Flash Player, after all, is available at zero price.
Dr. Stallman, couldn't we just interrupt for a moment? Isn't it moral to demand a law for consumers where you can either get the iPhone with all the spy tech or without, and of course the one without would be probably half the price from some of the numbers I've seen, to where it's so immoral to not tell consumers they're being paid, they're paying for mandated globally and by regional governments, mandated spy tech, and then you're never even being told. That is so immoral.
Well, you know, they would charge more if they couldn't spy on you because the information they get is valuable. But in fact, you wouldn't be able to make it work without the spy technology because it's not as if they say, all right, here's the stuff that users are going to really use, and here's the other components that are there just to spy. No, it's the same components that are doing all the things. And so the only way they could remove the spying is if they somehow decided to be ethical. And then how could you trust it anyway? If the users don't have the source code, if the users can't build and run their own version, you can never tell whether it's spying.
And it's the same thing with GMO. They've been caught, designing Trojan horses into that. Let me ask you this question. There was a big hubbub, and of course you're one of the leading experts that can answer this question, but I tried to study it, that the Chinese government was building back doors into all the chips that our military is getting. But then I was researching all these major platforms and governments under the Telecommunications Act and other agreements. They are demanding this be built in so they can get in, and then sure, it's going to end up in their systems too, and so it's causing such a big problem. And then they say, give us control of the internet because of vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities they demanded be built in.
It could very well be true. It's the sort of thing that you've got to expect governments to do, and I'm sad to say the U.S. government is no longer one that we could expect to be any better in these issues than the Chinese government or the Russian
But I mean,
government.
why would governments tell, all the chip makers you got to put back doors in it? Obviously, that's going to create a problem.
I don't know for certain that that has happened. I'd love to see an article showing evidence that that has occurred. All I've seen is speculation that there might be backdoors.
Oh, no, sir, I can get this to you. I mean, it's kind of like the
I'd love to see it. So far, I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, here's just a quick example. The Telecommunications Act of '96 mandated the GPS triangulation in all the phones be ubiquitous by October 1st, 2001. And they gave them, I think it was $10 billion to do it. And yeah, what they do is they go in and set standards on these systems that then they have the companies later give them the codes to. It's kind of like I was told.
That's a specific thing. Yes, it's required for phones to have GPS in them. There was a free software cell phone made in which whether to transmit any information from GPS is under the control of the user's free software. And the users really can say, no, I don't want you sending out any GPS coordinates. However, the problem is that triangulation and GPS are different. GPS is where the phone figures out from satellites where it is and then transmits that data to the phone company.
Via triangulation, giving the thing via the GPS locations of the towers. We'll be back. The creator of the GNU operating system, free software, not open, that led to Linux and so many other things, is on with us. Dr. Richard Stallman, stallman.org, is gracious enough to spend time with us. A very busy individual traveling the world. Haven't been able to get him on the last 6 months. He's been all over the planet doing so much. I want to get into GNU. What is it for folks that don't know? Like me. I mean, I know what it is, but not the, but I even get it confused with other systems that are free or somewhat free. And then we've got the brain computing interface, points you want to make on that point. And also, you wanted to elaborate on a law that they've got to tell you about spy software that you're being forced to purchase that's been added onto the product. That's washing machines. It's in everything now. Let's hit that first and then get into GNU.
I don't know to what extent current things like washing machines have that surveillance capability in them. It's a very important issue. I've been trying for a few years to get people concerned about smart meters and their potential, their gratuitous potential for surveillance, because I'm pretty sure that most of the potential electric savings could be achieved if the system simply informs your computers about when are the times that electricity is particularly scarce and raises the price for that period of time, and that way most people will choose to have their refrigerators not cool for that hour, and they won't have to tell anybody that they're doing so. They'll just use less electricity when it's expensive, and they'll pay less.
Sure. Well, just to be clear then, because I do focus on the consumer side, I know you're more into the deep guts of it all, but I can give you more examples if you'd like. But almost all the new washers, dryers, and the CIA chief, he brags about this, the new clock radios, under mandates, they're wired in with takeover switches to give you announcements. They've got wireless systems that they admit are interfacing with the wireless meter readers. California says, oh, yeah, we are going to start dialing in and turning things down or off during power, problems.
They shouldn't, for the legitimate goal, which is to reduce the peak electricity demand, there's no